You stand there under oath and continue to lie. Admit what you did. And that, Your Honor, is a clear violation.
With all due respect, I am her father. I was simply picking up my daughter's medication. We found the DNA evidence linking the defendant directly to the victim's apartment. It was undeniable.
The courtroom was packed that morning, not because the case was unusual, but because tensions had been building long before the trial even began. A wealthy, titled woman sat confidently on one side, adjusting her designer clothes as if she already knew the outcome, while across from her sat an elderly man in a simple jacket, calm, quiet, almost invisible to those who didn't look closely. From the very beginning, she made it clear she didn't respect him, gossiped, whispering to her assistant that people like him waste court time. What she didn't realize was that the judge had already reviewed the basic details of the case and sensed something unusual about the man sitting quietly in front of him. Dispute had started weeks earlier in a parking lot where her luxury vehicle had been parked carelessly across multiple spaces, blocking others. And when the elderly man politely approached her and asked her to adjust her car so others could park, she reacted not with understanding, but with arrogance, asking him if he even knew who she was, dismissing him completely, as if he didn't matter. When he calmly repeated his request, she mocked him and telling him he looked like someone who cleaned floors and had no right to speak to her, which caused nearby people to start recording. But the most surprising thing was not her behaviour. It was his response. He didn't shout. He didn't argue. He didn't even look angry. He simply stepped back and walked away in silence, which she took as weakness. But in reality, it was something else entirely, something no one in that parking lot understood at the time. Now, in court, the security footage was being reviewed. The entitled woman leaned back in her chair confidently, smiling as if the evidence would favour her. Toot. While her lawyer argued that she was simply defending herself from harassment, but when the video clearly showed her insulting and humiliating the elderly man, the atmosphere in the room began to shift slightly, though she still remained unbothered, even laughing under her breath, till the judge paused the video and turned his attention directly to the elderly man, asking him calmly to explain what had actually happened from his perspective. Cheek! The room grew quieter as the man slowly stood, his movements steady and controlled. When he spoke, his voice was not loud, but carried a weight that immediately changed the energy in the courtroom. He explained that he never intended conflict, only respect, that he had served his country for over 2 decades, seeing things most people could never imagine, that after everything he had experienced, he never believed respect should depend on appearance, money, or status. As he spoke, the courtroom slowly began to realize that this was not just an ordinary parking dispute, but something much deeper, because his calmness was not weakness, it was discipline. His silence was not fear, it was restraint. The entitled woman, now slightly uncomfortable, to interrupt by saying she didn't care about his past and that he had no right to make her feel guilty. But the judge immediately raised his hand, stopping her. For the first time, his tone became firm as he reminded her that court was not about status but truth. But as the evidence continued to unfold, more details from witnesses confirmed that she had a pattern of similar behaviour, treating people based on how useful or powerful she believed they were, while the veteran remained consistent in every statement, never raising his voice once. Came the moment that shifted everything. Judge asked for clarification on the veteran's background. Documents were presented showing years of military service, international deployments, and humanitarian missions, causing a visible change in the courtroom atmosphere as murmurs spread, and even the entitled woman began to lose earlier confidence, adjusting uncomfortably in her seat as the realization slowly sank. In that the man she had insulted so casually was not just some random stranger who had served in situations far beyond her understanding. Someone. Judge looked at her directly and said that disrespecting someone is one thing, judging their worth without understanding their life is another. As those words landed, the courtroom fell into a heavy silence, kind that feels almost physical, while the veteran simply stood there quietly, cheek ink, not seeking revenge, not asking for punishment, just waiting for fairness. The final statements were made. Judge ruled not only on the incident, but on the behaviour displayed, emphasising accountability and respect, and the entitled woman, Key, who had entered the courtroom with arrogance and confidence, now sat in silence as the reality of the situation fully settled in. As the session ended and people began to leave, she approached the veteran hesitantly and, for the first time, spoke without pride in her voice, offering a quiet apology, but he simply looked at her calmly and said he didn't need her apology, that she should never treat others as if they don't matter again. Then he walked away, leaving behind a courtroom that had learned something far more important than the case itself. That respect is not earned by status, but by humanity and silence sometimes carries more power than anger ever could.